So this week, I think I found my new best friend. This gentleman's called Alex Green. He's a co-founder and owner of Radfield Home Care. And I went into this podcast not knowing anything about Alex. I only met him from a BFA event. And we talked a little bit about, he talked a lot about Bitcoin and crypto. And from there on, we had a warm conversation, and we also do a little bit of business with him. And this podcast, all I can say is you need to listen to this podcast. The delivery of the information, the journey Alex has been on as a person, but the way he talks about franchising, leadership, growing a team. I'll tell you what, an education lesson on what is Bitcoin and crypto. And I think the fundamentals and underlying pin of the UK franchise industry, how and why you should buy a franchise, what you should look for, and how it all should start for you. That's what it is. I have to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for this podcast, Alex. I needed it more than ever today. Hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Thanks for listening. So, it's back to the Tezlom Podcast, and as always, some of them unusual starts, and this one's definitely been more of an unusual one than ever before. So I'm going to just introduce yourself and tell us what you do, and just introduce yourself, and please go from there, Alex.
Okay, I'm Alex Green. I'm director, co-founder of Radfield Home Care Franchising, and do a lot of other stuff as well. Yeah.
The reason why I said it is a bit of a tricky podcast is at the beginning was, I think we met for the very first time. Was it at that BFA?
Yeah, first time we met properly.
Yeah, properly there, and we sat next to each other when you talked a bit about crypto, we're definitely going to talk about that. Okay. But then I think, how did we get onto cold water therapy? I think we were talking about it.
I think you mentioned having been to see Wim Hof.
Yeah.
And I think I sort of mentioned I'd read his book and was interested.
Yeah, so this morning we've been to my house and we've done a cold water date with Alex and Kay, our breathwork coach, and it was pretty good, wasn't it, mate?
It was amazing. Yeah, what an experience.
Yeah, it's become a daily habit of mine. Probably if I'm at home, I'll do it every day, every morning. It's become a daily habit of mine, but I simply do it from a mental health perspective. I know there's other health benefits, but I don't even know what they are. Yeah. Mine's simply to press pause for a few minutes. It definitely helps me do that. I always call it, my description is a forced meditation. Yeah. I think it's probably about 2 minutes for me now because I do it so often, but I'd say the first 4 minutes you really can't think about anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you think about it like that, that's how I do it. Did you find that yourself?
Definitely. That first bit where you're getting used to it and acclimatising is really intense. Yeah. And then a calm comes afterwards. Yeah. And that's the bit you want to get to, isn't it? It's that kind of complete zen.
And then you enjoy it. Yeah. It's good. It's definitely something you should definitely invest in. That ice bath company I bought it from, I think it's 3.5 grand plus VAT to buy it. But it's well worth the money.
It'll pay you back.
Yeah. So if you think about counselling sessions at between 40 and 70 a session, and I do that every single day, and it helps clear my mind, gets me back to baseline, then I think it's well worth the money.
Definitely.
In the scheme of things, it's a lot of cash out of someone's bank account, but I look at it backwards and think it's
well, it's an investment in yourself, isn't it? And
that's why I look
and living well.
Helps you be a better person all around. So, enough about me. Where do I start this podcast? Okay, I talked to you a little bit about it beforehand, and one of the things I want to do with the podcast channel is actually give some advice as well as hear a bit about you. I'm going to ask you, I know there's going to be a long answer to this, but I am going to ask you one specific question, if that's okay. Yeah. It's very much about franchising. If you're going to give some advice to someone looking at buying a home care franchise, is there one key thing that you would lead to talking to when you were giving advice to someone looking at a home care franchise? Is there any one key bit of information, or is there a couple of things that you could give as one key information?
I think the best way to approach that is to look at the sort of best data set there is of what makes someone successful. Yeah. And that comes from Franchise Relationships Institute in Australia. So they've studied franchising globally. Yeah. And they look at what determines the successful franchise partners and what determines the least successful franchise partners in any network. Yeah. And there's sort of, there's a scale of things that are important, but there's some that are really, really important. So firstly is don't start a new business or a new franchise if you haven't got family support.
Yeah, I think that's so key.
You've got to work off a solid foundation.
Yeah.
So if you've got any concerns around that, if you haven't got the backing of everyone in your life that's important, don't do it. Because you just can't build anything solid off the back of, an unstable foundation. So that's number one. That's the key indicator of success. The second thing is having some passion for the brand. Yeah. So if you don't really resonate with that brand, if it doesn't really mean something to you, and if you can't take those brand values and make them your own values and bring that to life in your own business, again, don't do it. Yeah. You've got to find something you connect with. That's
100%.
The absolutely important thing. And I think then leadership probably is the third most important, because no one's going to run the business for you.
No.
Every day you're the one that goes in to your office, opens the door, builds the culture with your team, drives the leadership forward. And if you can't do that yourself, if you're looking to someone else to do that, you can't succeed in business. So I think those are the three key things. So if you're going to go into business, whether it's business or franchising, ask yourself those three questions. And if you can answer those and you find a brand that you've got some passion for, and you can find it in yourself to be a leader or learn how to be a leader, because leadership can be learned. It's not everyone gets it instinctively.
Straight, yeah.
And if you're prepared to go on that journey, then that's how I'd look at it.
Yeah, I love that. That's really it's so funny. Like Cale vouched me on this. There are things that I say, I just don't say it in that way, but I absolutely love the way you've just delivered that. It's so true, isn't it? I think for me, what rises above the foundation of the family thing is, so imperative as well, isn't it? It doesn't always have to be mum and dad, so to speak. It just needs to be the closest two people that you can bounce off it. Because I'm going to go right off on a tangent straight away here, but you need to be able to go home and just kick the dog and have a chat with the wife about it, or your partner about it, or your best friend, because not everyone's got a partner.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able to fully understand the business, but they're going to give you the best advice you need for you as a person.
Yeah.
I think that's the key, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So me and you are both runners. If I go home and I'm really crawling up the walls with something, Shaz will say, why don't you go for a run?
Yeah.
And she'll say, go for a run, I will do this, and we'll watch this when you get back. And it's that bit of work, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's that bit of work you need, isn't it? So I think that's what I feel from what you've just said.
Yeah, and you've got to have the backing.
Yeah.
They've got to be behind you in what you do, because you're taking risks.
Yeah.
Any business is a risk. And your loved ones have to support that risk.
Yeah.
Because they're your foundation.
You don't need any more doubt, do you?
You can't have it.
No, you can't go home on a bad day and they bring it even further down.
Yeah.
They need to build you back up. They don't know
Absolutely.
the intricacies of the business, but they definitely know you.
Yeah.
And they need to build you back up, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the one thing, and you might have not seen me trying to speak at the expos, I'm getting slightly better at it and slightly longer every time. There's one I've picked again to speak at February and October, is brand. And I feel like sometimes people, I don't know if you felt that, is it Alex or Al? What's your best?
Either.
Is people lead too much with the financials.
Yeah.
And they don't ask me about what we do, and they get an idea of what we do, and they don't. And I feel like I always talk and say, look, fall in love with the brand.
Mm-hmm.
We're all here at this expo today, and we've all been accredited by the British Franchise Association, or we've all been established for a while. So let's face it, we all make money. That's it, end of. Or we wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be sat here paying £10,000 a day, for example, to be here. So you have to just take that on the chin that it works. So fall in love with the people involved in it. Go and have a conversation with the leaders in the business. Have a conversation with people, the support team in the business. Find out what the brand stands for. Because if you don't love the brand and what it stands for, it doesn't matter if the profit margin is 300%.
Absolutely.
It literally doesn't matter, because it's just like a job in it, Alex. If you're not good at your job, it doesn't matter how much money you get paid. You'll leave.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or you'll get sacked. Yeah. It's exactly the same with the business.
But it's like a relationship, isn't it? Because you're committing 10 years of your life probably to this brand. Yeah. And if it's like a marriage. Yeah. You've got to work at it, but you've got to want to be in it. Yeah, yeah. It's not like a job you can leave. Yeah, yeah. You've bought into this, you've invested. Yeah, yeah. So you have to find the right partner.
Yeah, yeah. It's so true. Interesting, mate. I'm so glad. And the third one, what was the third one again? My brain's not working.
But leadership.
Yeah, leadership. Yeah, that's also another one. It's See, I was forced into my... Well, I wasn't. I went and got education appointments, and that's how I started my business. It was a smaller recruitment agent, my Auntie Sue. And I think I would like to think I'm a natural leader. I think it's just stemmed from mum and dad, and them always owning businesses, and I just always followed my dad's footsteps. He's intrinsically like that. I'm very much like I'm the guy who thinks of the project and then gives the team to do the project, and I think that's leadership in 101.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think you can be taught leadership, and it's if you want to be taught leadership is what you try. I think.
Yeah, you got to want to do it, but you've also got to understand. I think that good leaders employ people who are better than them. 100%. Because why would you employ someone if they're not? Yeah. And it's about allowing people to shine and use their talents. And if you come in and just tell everybody what to do all the time, what's the point? Yeah,
it's not going to work, and they're going to leave. Yeah. For a start.
Yeah, and you don't get the benefit of their experience. No. You're then limited to your experience, and we know a good team works far better than one person can work themselves. So
I've definitely learned over time to pay more money for people, even though it's a bigger risk, but learn from them when you take them on. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And sometimes you do have to train people up, and that does feel like a drag. Though sometimes if you take people on without experience, and you've got people with experience, you kind of sometimes think, fuck, should I have just paid that extra £30,000 and not done this?
But you've got to find the spark. Sometimes it's worth, if you connect with someone and you can see potential in them, it's worth taking the risk sometimes.
Yeah, you are right. Them homegrown tomatoes.
They just turn into the best performing staff and most loyal and valued staff.
Have your back one-on-one.
Absolutely. Yeah. But like you were saying about your journey about family. Yeah. And seeing your parents' example in business, that was the same for us.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how did that happen?
Well, we grew up in, my mum and dad started a care home in 1982. Right. So I was 10. Right. Sister was 7. Yeah. So we grew up in that environment.
Where was this? Which neck of the woods?
In Shropshire, in Shrewsbury, yeah. So we were sort of thrown into that as kids, and we lived it, we breathed it, we helped.
So you're just in and around that home all the time, so you just knew. Yeah. There's no beginning or end to the day, is there?
No, absolutely. And being in business, saw our parents take risks. We saw them, bring their values and culture into their business, and we grew up in that. So for us, it was instinctive, I suppose. Nice. And then, we both went off in our different paths, as we became adults, and we did our thing, and then we came back to start Radfield Home.
Could you just creep in there a little bit and just tell me a bit about yourself, and did you enjoy... You strike me as an intelligent guy just from the crypto conversation. So were you always like that academically wise, or did you enjoy school, and was it always your friend or not?
School, yeah, it was okay. I mean, I didn't have a terrible time at school, but I wasn't sporty. No. I was always into music, and that's kind of what took the early part of my life, really, was an interest in music.
Really? What type of music?
All sorts of music. I just love music. Yeah, I got into making music, so I was writing songs, playing in bands. Did that for a bit, then
I'm falling more and more in love with you every time I speak to you. I'm literally I want to be your best friend. I'm not even slightly joking. I fucking love that. I love music myself. It's just the calmness to life, isn't it?
Oh yeah. There's no bad music, is there? It's all good stuff. So yeah, that kind of obsessed me really when I was younger. Just really wanted to make music. That was all I wanted to do.
So in your teens and school and sort of
thing? Late teens into sort of early adulthood, and then went to study in Manchester at uni. And just kept doing music. So.
Did you do music at uni?
No. I did French.
Did you?
Yeah, because before I went to uni, I lived in France for a year.
Why just?
Well, a long story. When I was 12, 13, I did a French exchange. Right, okay. Some people do when they're kids. Yeah. And the guy I did the French exchange with became a lifelong friend. So nice. My best mate. And we just kept in touch. Every year we'd sort of visit. Oh, nice. And then, turned 18 and was like, right, I'm going there for a year. So I went and lived in the same town he was in. Started a band. As you do.
No way. And did you sing in French?
No.
I was going to say.
Not that good.
That would be really good.
So yeah, I can speak French. So French at uni was actually a mistake, but it seemed like the obvious choice at the time. But yeah, so all the time I was doing music and sort of playing in bands, and then sort of got into production, started producing music, and ended up making music for TV.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Is there any ones that anyone would know?
No, it's all small. I mean, there's so much music. You think how much TV there is, you know. But yeah, bits of that, and we sort of had a hip hop band. So we were doing like a live music hip hop band before other people were really doing that. So yeah, it was great, really good fun.
No way. Did you sing, or were you just instruments? Or
I started off trying to sing, and then realised that wasn't going to get me very far. So it was guitars and then sort of samples and production stuff.
Love that. That is a world I know nothing about. I just love music.
Yeah.
I just like songs that make me either cry or make me feel better.
Yeah.
It's literally on all the time in my car. I don't listen to podcasts or anything like that. It's my only safe space, really.
Yeah.
How does that work, mate, putting a song together? Do you just work with the artist, or...?
It depends, really. I mean, it's a lot easier now with technology. You know, you can go and buy a kit that makes it really easy for anyone to make music. But back when we were doing it, it was sort of the early days of computer music. So literally had to learn how to build computers and do all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it depends. You know, sometimes someone comes with an idea and you just go, right, well, let's riff off the idea and pick up a guitar, play a keyboard, whatever. Sometimes you get an idea in your head and then they come and work on it. It's that collaboration. But when you get in that zone, sometimes when you know it's working, you get that flow feeling where it's just like it just all fits together. And nothing better than that. Nothing better than that.
It's an amazing space to be. It's like a creative space. That
Yeah.
It? Yeah. Okay, so how do you get from producing songs to owning Radfield, your sister? How did that happen? So you left, you finished your French degree, and then what?
And then needed a job, as we all do. I started working in banks, building societies, and then through that trained up as a financial advisor, and then did that for a few years, and then realised...
Independent one or for a bank?
For a bank.
Yeah, for a bank.
Didn't really like the way that was going. It was, pretty salesy, pretty hard sell.
Yeah.
And
was that like pensions and stuff like that? Yeah.
Investments and pensions. Yeah. And then I saw an advert for an administrator in a community radio project.
Right.
And I was like, radio, interested, because of the music I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand what community radio was at the time. But I wanted to leave what I was doing. I was completely fed up with that career. So I just took a plunge, just stopped, resigned, and went and started working in a community radio station. And that was in South Manchester. So it was called All FM, Ardwick, Longsight, Levenshulme.
Wow.
And,
nice bit of the world.
Yeah, lovely bit of the world. And it was a massive learning curve for me, because I didn't really know anything about radio, didn't really know anything about community development, didn't know anything about it, but I was fascinated. Yeah. And quite quickly, because it was such a new thing, there was a pilot scheme being run by Ofcom. So they were trying to bring licensed community radio, because you've heard of pirate radio.
Yeah. I used to listen to it.
All through the 80s, massive pirate radio.
I used to listen to it,
Pirate radio grew up because there was no way for people to get on the air and say things and do things and play music they wanted to. There was just the BBC or commercial, and they were inaccessible. Yeah. So people said, well, stuff that. I want to broadcast. I want to do my thing. Yeah. So they set up pirate radio stations, and they were massive, all across Manchester, all across London, all across Birmingham. They were a huge thing. And
I remember listening to them when I was at school. Yeah,
and some of the best radio that was ever made. And people really connected with that. And so community radio was an idea. I mean, there's a lot of history to community radio. You can talk about it for hours, but it's a movement to get, to democratise the media, to give people a voice. And so through lots of pressure from the community and people in pirate radio and community radio, because up until there was a licence structure, all you could do was apply for short-term licences. So you could apply for an RSL, restricted service licence. So you could go on air for a couple of weeks for an event or something like that, and then you had to turn off again and go away. And communities got fed up with that. They wanted something a bit more permanent. So Ofcom said, all right, let's do some testing. So we were one of the 15 pilot stations created to test the water for community radio. And they tried different models, because you can have community radio that's just for young people, community radio that's just for older people, community radio that's just for a community, a geographical community, or just for people who are interested in trains. There's a whole range of how you can do it. So they wanted to test all the models. And the one I ended up running, All FM, was geographical station. So they said, okay.
Mate, what a good territory to try that in, though.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Where you were in Manchester. Like,
absolutely amazing.
Massive community.
Massive community and diverse community.
Yeah.
We had 20 languages on air.
Yeah, I bet it was sick around there.
Yeah, and it was like running a mini United Nations, because everyone wants their bit of the station. So you're kind of...
It's just the most amazing amount of people of all sort of demographics in that area in Manchester.
Yeah. And all the music and the culture and all that stuff coming together into a community output, that people can listen to and buy into and get access to. So it was a really powerful movement.
Mate, when you headed that up?
Yeah. I was running all FM, and then we had some other stations around us. There was Wythenshawe FM, which a good friend of mine was running at the time. It was all kind of set up by a charity in Manchester called Radio Regen, which was amazing because they helped these organisations get off the ground, and then they became independent, and we ended up sort of running that for the benefit of the community.
No way. So did you have like local companies like paying to sponsor them there and things like that?
You just run adverts on air, quite limited advertising, because it's not really about making money, it's about providing a voice for communities. So I did that for 5-6 years.
Wow.
And then
did you take a pay cut to do that from the bank?
You
must have done, mustn't you? What a different dynamic of career change. But I bet you found a tremendous amount of purpose out of that, though. Like, that must have been massive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you've got to shake things up, haven't you? And what you get out of that in the long run is.
Did you find that out? Did you find the word purpose when you did that? From going from financial advice, did you feel like you found it? Because I was thinking, you as a male anyway, you go through so much change between 20 and 40.
Yeah.
I feel like. The world changes.
Boy to man.
Yeah, literally though, and you go through so many emotions, mate, don't you? Like, I don't think you grow up to 35, 40, do you?
Definitely. At least that.
Yeah, you don't know what you're fucking doing, do you? So like, I've definitely gone through an emotional change of purpose over the last few years. Did you find that was there? You must have done, surely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because you're immersed in it, and you can see the benefit of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You get that direct feedback. You get people from all communities coming to you and thanking you for...
That monetary bit just disappears.
It's just not... It's not important.
Yeah.
It's not important. I mean, say it's not important. You
still got to pay your bills.
Still got to pay the bills, and and the amazing thing about All FM is it's still going now.
Wow.
It's still on air.
Have you got anything to do with it at all?
I don't have anything to do with All FM. I'm still involved with a radio station in London called Represent, which is for young people. So it's a youth station based out of Brixton. And I helped Shane, who runs that organisation, get their licence when the licensing came around. So, and he just sort of asked me to be on the board. So that's 15, 16 years ago now. So we still work on that project. I mean, All FM's fine; they get on with their thing. But with Represent, we we focus on kind of building a voice for young people, training for young people, because. Again, if you think about it, what community radio does is it teaches people skills. It's transferable skills. Yeah. So it's the sort of carrot and stick thing. So if you say to a young person, do you want to learn how to communicate? Do you want to learn how to write? Do you want to learn how to be organised and turn up on time? They'll go, no, not really necessarily. But if you say, do you want to go on air and do a music show? Yeah, I want that. Yeah. And then, but by tapping into what they want to go on air and be a DJ and all that stuff. You say, okay, well, fine. But to do that, you've got to do this, and this. Yeah. And so what you can build in them is that kind of the transferable skills by them wanting to achieve something.
Making them accountable.
Make them accountable. Yeah. If you want to do a radio show, you've got to be there every day. You've got to have done the research. You can't just go on air and talk.
This isn't a game.
It's not a game. No, it's serious. You've got listenership. You've got all those things. So it's a really powerful tool to transform lives, really. Yeah, mate. Whether that's the listeners, whether that's the participants. Did you meet like a lot of dreamers in there trying to do something like and don't know how to get there? I suspect it would have brought that audience of people trying to. Oh yeah, I mean, and it's finding the talent, because not everyone's going to end up being a famous DJ. No. And Represent's kind of been a voice for a load of people to be successful in the media. So lots of people who've ended up on BBC One, Radio One, One Extra, have come through Represent. They've done their apprenticeship and then they've moved on. But the hundreds of people who haven't gone down that route but have gone on to do other things, it's given them the skills to do those other things. Yeah, or just give them that yes or no. Yeah, just absolutely. That help of deciding now this isn't for me, or no, I'm not good enough, but I like doing this aspect of something. Yeah. And because of where it is in the country and the music scene that's kind of come out of South London, I think Represent was one of the first platforms that Stormzy used.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not just the presenters, it's the artists that you can showcase and platform. You know, so you know, you've got this huge wave of talent that, you know, a station with a focus like that can really push forward. So we still do that, and we've spun off another project into schools' mental health.
Oh, nice.
So using the power of radio and communication to go into schools and take over an assembly, broadcast into that assembly a show about mental health and how you can recognise the signs of poor mental health.
Yeah.
And one of the powerful things that does is we get all the kids in the audience to have an app on their phone. They download an app, and then in the show they're asked a question. You know, so tell us how you're feeling now, and they all rate it. And then live on the screen comes up how many other people in the class are feeling the same way as you. So you can imagine you're sitting in a school assembly with 200 kids, and you're feeling alone because you're suffering with some kind of mental health problem, and you put that on your phone and it comes up on your screen, and you suddenly realise that 60% of the kids in that room are feeling the same thing that you're feeling.
Yeah, but you feel better.
You're not alone,
Yeah.
you know, and that project's got some real traction now. So we've delivered that across every secondary school in Gloucestershire, loads of schools around Essex, around London, and into other areas, because it gives them practical skills. It makes them feel not alone. You know, and then afterwards there's a legacy. So the app will then, you know, give them resources, give them counselling, give them things that they need. And you can go back a few weeks later and do the same show again, or similar show, and you can find out what the improvement's been.
Yeah, there's some other practices that
yeah. So I mean, just literally, you know, 10,000 children that we work with in Gloucestershire, 60% rated themselves as either, you know, severe or critical mental health problem. And then you go back 8 weeks later and we can track a substantial improvement in that. You know, we haven't fixed the problem, but we've maybe set some of them on a journey to sort of handle it themselves. It's just creating awareness,
isn't it?
Yeah.
You've just created an awareness that I'm not alone and this is a challenge and I need to work through it, and then I guess they'll all work through it together. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, you know, that's kind of part of the journey from community radio, because these projects wouldn't have come out of, you know, anything else really, because it's about using broadcast and understanding the power of broadcast to engage people and get people on board with changing their lives really.
Fucking hell, mate, you've got right out your purpose there, didn't you, changing that career to this now?
Yeah. But it's sort of, you know, it ties in really with what we do now with the franchising, because it's about changing lives. It's about helping people improve their lives, whether that's the clients we're looking after or the staff, you know, the care professionals we're working with. Because again, people who work in care tend to do it because of a sense of purpose.
100%, they don't do it for money.
Yeah, exactly. So if we understand that, you know, and we understand that they're trying to achieve a purpose with their work, and we facilitate that and give them a space where they can make that change, then that's really powerful, because then the clients benefit. You know, and it's all about changing lives. It's all about improving lives and allowing people to kind of live the best life they can, whether they're 19 or 90. You know, it doesn't really matter. You should still be able to have a good quality of life.
Yeah, 100%. And there's people there who want to do that as well, because they get purpose from that. So you just facilitating it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, same. It's nice, mate.
Yeah. So that's a whistle stop tour.
Wow. So, I'm trying to get back to where I've lost track. So you left uni, did the community radio, and at what point did you leave that community radio to change your career?
To set up the Radfield home care franchising, yeah.
So what? Come on, talk me through how that happened. You've got to get to the bare bones.
Yeah. Okay. So my parents were coming up to the point where they decided to wind down, and they had a care home, so small care home in Shrewsbury, about 18 residents. And they sort of had a conversation with Hannah, my sister, and myself, and said, you know, do you want to be involved? Do we want to do anything more with it? Do we close it down? Do we carry on? And we both kind of reached points in our career where we wanted to change again.
How old were you about this point?
This is 2008, so
long time ago.
Yeah. And Hannah had been down a different path to me, so she'd become a GP. So she was working as a GP, but she kind of hit a point where that wasn't really fulfilling her. She wanted to be in business. That was what she saw as her challenge. And for me, with the community radio, I'd done everything I could do in an employed capacity. And I'd sort of developed a station. It became independent. It had a board. It was all running well. I'd done a lot of work with, Community Media Association, helping others get licenses and all that stuff. I was still involved with Represent.
All the strategy side and everything, hadn't you?
Yeah, and I knew I could kind of keep the purpose bit. I could keep working with Represent and doing the thing that really,
sets you on fire.
Yeah, and I didn't need to do that as my day job. So we had a conversation. We said, well, what are we going to do? We're going to carry on the business. And this was just before the credit crunch, 2008. Yeah. So we kind of decided to open a bigger care home and get a lot of investment. So we got the banks on board, got the loans all agreed, and then the credit crunch hit. And we just went, right, let's not do that, which was a blessing, really, because it allowed us to rethink. So it allowed us to think, okay, well, let's move with the direction of what people want. And what people want now is care at home. Yeah. Some people who need it want care in a residential institution, and that's fantastic. But most people out of choice will stay at home for as long as they can, living the lives they want to live. So we sort of changed our focus, set up Radfield Home Care, and we worked alongside the care home for about a year as the care home wound down, and we wound up. And then that was that, really. So we started the home care business.
Why call it Radfield?
That was the name of the house where it was started.
Right.
And there was a stream down the bottom of the garden called the Rad. Field, that was just one of those things. Nice. Yeah.
So just you and your sister just said, right, we're going to crack on and start doing this.
Yeah. So we stopped what we were doing, came together in about March 2008, and just started handing out leaflets and thought, well, I was living off a credit card at the time. Literally, Yeah, you just got to sometimes you just got to take the leap of faith and throw caution to the wind and get stuck in.
Do you have that same conversation with people looking at buying a franchise?
There comes a point where you have to jump off the cliff.
I've had a franchisee recently, and she's an IFA in Dubai.
Right.
But met like ridiculous money that me and you could never even dream of having.
Yeah.
She's been dealing with clients that are just outrageous, and she also facilitates buying companies and stuff like that. So you can imagine the type of character she is. Yeah. And she's talking to me she's asking me about EBITDA and trying to drill down everything with me. And I'm like, you've not even started. Yeah. And I just said to her, I'll be dead straight with you. You're not going to buy a franchise. I said, because all you're doing, every single conversation we're having is you're just trying to find a problem and a solution. Yeah. I said, there has to be a grey matter. There has to be a leap of faith. Yeah. There was a leap of faith when Mum started this. It's been a leap of faith for every other franchise, and every other franchisee in the world. There's always a leap of faith. You can drill down the numbers as much as you possibly can. You can decide, you can do as much research as you want, but there's always a leap of faith in there.
It's connecting the head to the heart.
Yeah.
Because you can, the head will always come up with reasons not to do stuff. Yeah. The finances don't work. I can't make this work. Whatever that is. Yeah. If you answer those questions, if you can satisfy that for someone and say, okay, look, it looks good. Financially, I think it can work. I think I can do this. I connect with the brand. I've got the leadership skills, and that's you satisfy all that kind of hygiene stuff. Yeah. At some point, you've still got to make an emotional connection to say, this is what I really want to do. Yeah. And it's you've got to connect those two sides of the brain. But it's a leap of faith. At some point, you've got to sign on the dotted line and say, I'm doing this.
Yeah, I'm going to go for it.
It's that commit.
There's just never going to be the perfect answer, is there? And the thing is, just as good as me, the business plan's just a business plan. It actually doesn't matter about but that business plan is like an MOT. It's just that day, what it looks like. You just got to throw it out the window and crack on.
Absolutely.
It's only as good as the bit of paper it's written on, and it never goes to plan.
Exactly. And it's down to the person and the drive they bring into a business as to the success they'll make. You take two identical territories, two identical business plans, and you put two different people in, and they won't perform the same.
No.
One will do better than the other.
100%. Yeah, I have it. You'll have it as well. As you've got one who's 45 minutes down the road from you, and they said it's a territory. I'm like, mate, 45 minutes. So the guy's done £1 million in his first year. Don't tell me. Yeah. It's 45-minute drive from here. I'm 5 hours away from him. We're doing triple. It's so interesting, isn't it? But then you can't. How do you deliver that to that person? It's you.
Yeah.
It's not. There's not the territory. It's not the brand. It's actually you. No way. It's a long time ago, in 2008. So my mum started the business in 2008 because my dad's previous business went down in 2008 as well. Yeah. And Mum was from recruitment industry, and so was my dad, so that's why we went into recruitment. We supply home care, nursing homes, care homes, learning disability services, mental health hospitals, and then domiciliary. Do temp and perm as well. How's your sister? What's it like working with your sister? Because I always get asked this question about working with my mum. Been a dream?
Yeah,
Pretty
absolutely.
easy?
Yeah, I mean, we don't argue.
No.
You know, if we disagree, that's one thing. We don't disagree on much, but occasionally we do.
Yeah.
But we have a conversation about it. And I think the thing you get with family is, you know, you get trust.
Yeah. Do you find yourself having bad? But have you got? I've not got into this yet, but like, do you find yourself discussing work in personal time? We don't differentiate, but out of working hours time.
Yeah, it does happen.
Yeah.
But I think it's harder for my sister because her husband Phil works in the business as well.
Right.
My wife doesn't work in the business. You know, she works in education, so that's separate. So I go home and I don't have Radfield conversations unless I'm making them happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas for them, it's much harder to actually say, you know, no, we're not going to talk about work all night because otherwise you never get away, do you?
Yeah,
you never get a break.
Yeah. Do you find you go out for meals as families together and talk about it?
Yeah, we do sometimes. And I think it's important to do that as well.
Me too.
But, you know, because you've got to be on the same page. You've all got to be knowing why you're doing it.
Do you not feel like that leads to downtime though? Like I have to, when I talk to my mum, like, I've got a very good friend of mine, we talk about this quite a lot, Ryan Standish, and he's like, you need separation and downtime. And I'm like, yeah, but part of me coming down is being able to have that, facilitate that conversation about work and put a few things to bed before I'm down.
Yeah, 100%. Because that's the difference between owning and leading a business and being an employee.
Yeah.
You know, for the most part, you can, as an employee, switch off, go home, you know, disconnect.
Yeah.
Whereas if you own a business, you're responsible. The buck always stops with you.
Yeah, yeah.
So you carry that,
Yeah.
you know, and that's a lot to carry sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got to be able to cope with that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Sometimes things need dealing with, and you've got to put them to bed before you can get that mental space to enjoy yourself or do whatever
talk about
else.
The kids and the holiday and the dogs and what's for tea and how we made that spaghetti bolognese and stuff like that.
Yeah, really important.
This is a tricky one. I'm selfish from a podcast, and I just have to be like this. Have you ever thought about other people having shares in the business and how you would ever teach them about that side of it, Al? Have you ever had that conversation yet?
We've never got investment to grow our business.
No.
So we've never had to face that.
But if you would ever give shares to anyone else in the business?
Yeah, I think we would.
Yeah.
As part of a strategy to grow the business.
I know it's an intricate question, that, Al. It's just because it's something that I always talk about. It's like you can't, how big you're going to get them salaries in there, makes no sense not to give shares sometimes. And then the person, you need that tenacity that you have as a business owner from that level of people, don't you, sometimes? You've
got to have that commitment.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you want to, you know, go on, sorry.
I was just wondering if you've ever thought about it.
We have, and I think, you know, the advice we've got over the years is be careful, go slowly, and put a lot of thought into it. You know, employee ownership schemes can be really good. Quite expensive to administer. You know, there's lots of ways to do it, and I think one thing that's right for someone isn't going to be right for someone else. But it's about understanding the people. You know, and that certainly comes up around. You know, you talk about exits with business, don't you? I mean, I think it's certainly with franchisees we have those conversations. You know, what's your exit strategy?
Yeah,
and it's a really common, you know, normal, healthy thing to do, to have those conversations up front. And people sometimes go, you know, why are you talking to me about an exit? I'm just signing, you know, it's just getting started. But if you don't talk about exit, then how do you know what the roadmap is? How do you know where you're going? It's like, you know, that's your destination. So for any business, you've got to understand that. And a destination might involve some kind of, you know, share ownership and bringing key people in. So it's never off the table. Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. I was just always trying to think about how, because I'm super passionate about the business, and I know you will be as well. It's just how you teach someone to be super passionate. You can't. I think you've got to just take a leap of faith again. Yeah. Give them the shares based on their performance, and but also see the passion before you give them the shares. You know, find ways of structuring that so you get the buy-in personally without having to have the shares to make the buy-in happen. The emotional buy-in. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it, mate? Just having a family-run business and then having to take it somewhere else. Yeah. Because there will be a point, I think, for both of us at some point where you get to that point where this is bigger than us now. Yeah, 100%. You know, that's what I always think about. We talked a little bit before about family. How you know, as a dad and stuff, and you've got your kids and stuff, how have you coped over the years? It's a long time to be in business, that, isn't it? You know, is it? I don't know about you, but I travel a lot at the minute. I don't know if you travel still a lot in a minute, but I definitely do at the minute, because I'm the person who sells all awards, the franchises for Tezlom.
Yep.
So I work with Gemma, and I'm away quite a lot at the minute because I'm trying to sell quite a few at the end of this year. And I don't know if it's been quite quiet for you or not, but it's been definitely quiet for me.
Yeah.
We've only sold one at the beginning of the year, awarded one, if the right terminology, at the beginning of the year. But we've got quite a few inquiries now. It seems to have just gone nuts. And we've got probably about 7, I'd say, solid territories, solid leads, solid conversations that actual could go somewhere. But there's some travelling quite a bit. Have you ever experienced, how have you dealt with that, having a family? Have you dealt with it quite easily, or?
I think it's that work-life balance thing, isn't it? And we don't travel too much.
Yeah.
I think the way we've always done it is, if people are really committed and serious, they should come and see us, and not from a kind of they should do it because they wanted it. Yeah. We want them to come and meet the team. We can't take a whole team to see them. So we want them to get a sense of us and our team and our culture. And the best way they can do that is to come and see us.
Do a discovery day.
Yeah, part of our process is to kind of have initial conversations, and then we'll invite them to see us. So we don't tend to go to them so much. We do a bit of travel around for events and things, but that's not really impacted me too much. But I think it's more being able to switch off and then focus on family time and kids and giving attention to that. And not being too obsessed with work.
Have you struggled with that?
A little bit, yeah.
I definitely have, mate. I am saying the word "be present" to myself under my breath more often.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've done that.
Yeah, no, I do that a lot. Yeah. It's actually because you've got 101 things bubbling away and emails that need answering. You've got to kind of delineate that time and say that's family time and that isn't.
Yeah, definitely. I torture myself sometimes about that. I'm trying my hardest to. I think, in fairness to me, I'd love to hear your take on it, is they're getting to an age where I can be more involved in their life as a lad. And I have been involved in my kids' life. I always took them to nursery. I've made them tea. I've picked them up from nursery. I'm fully involved in my kids' life. Yeah. My missus will back me on that. But I feel like I'm definitely, I took my little lad Jackson to watch the Turtles film the other day at the cinema. Brilliant. And I feel like that's where I'll engage more, because I don't know why, I just feel like I can get more on with that than I have been able to do. I've still been massively involved in my lad's life, but I just feel like, I think maybe in the later years I'll come into my own with it a little bit. I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, everyone finds their own relationship with their kids. Yeah. Someone told me once the definition of success as a parent is if they still like you when they're 18. Yeah. And that's the goal. Is as an adult that they still like you and they still want to spend time with you. And if you can get there, then that's fine. It doesn't matter what they've achieved and other things; they're less important. Yeah. But I think it's building that personal relationship with your kids, and I think maybe it is right. That I certainly find it easier as my kids have got older to build those relationships. How old are you, if you don't mind asking? So my daughter's 10. And then my 2 sons, 17 and 21. Yeah.
It's a good mix, that, isn't it, mate? It's
a good age spread.
Yeah, it's a good age spread. It's a good dynamic, that, isn't it? The 21-year-old cleared off now?
Yeah, he's done uni. He's done well at uni, and he's now off sort of finding his own path. Yeah. He's at home at the moment, but
what's he end up going to do? Do you know?
He studied business and finance, so hopefully he'll get something. He wants to work in that area.
Just buy him a franchise.
Buy him a franchise.
We need Shropshire Tezlom, by the way.
Fair enough, yeah. We could do one as well.
Yeah, do your deal.
Brilliant.
And then, what about the other ones?
So Sol's 17, so he's just doing his A-levels. And LV, she's 10. Yeah, she loves dancing, that's her world. Oh. She was gymnastics, it's moving now a bit more to dance, so she's just does dance all the time.
I bet you enjoy that bit with your creative side background.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's amazing to see her. She's got an amazing brain for choreography, so she can learn. I'm not a dancer, I've never been able to do that, but she'll learn all the moves really quickly. And then, she'll just do the same thing again and again. It's amazing. Yeah, nice. And confidence to go on stage as well. That's a really important thing. I mean, I used to going on stage, so it's never been a massive fear of mine, but, LV last year did a performance in front of 200 people on her own, did a solo dance for 10, 5 minutes, just in awe of her ability to do that and her self-possession to be able to go on stage.
And that's insane, mate. And I'm panicking about doing a talk at Expo.
Exactly.
Really? About something I know.
Yeah.
I picked the topic. Yeah. Mad, isn't it, really? when you put it in perspective like
Absolutely.
that. How brave.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to talk to you about, and we started at the beginning of the podcast, is mental health. Have you come across much of it in your life? How have you coped running a business for that long? I know you're pretty exercise well. Have you struggled at all with your mental health, or have you just struggled with stress or anything like that?
I've been lucky, I think. I haven't had problems with mental health.
No.
Stress a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm quite good now at recognising the signs of when the stress is going in the wrong direction, and then coping mechanisms. So
what have you got? What's your favourites?
Running. I mean, you can't beat it, can you?
No.
Having a bad day, you go running, and it clears your mind, and it's that physical grounding.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying about the cold water exposure. You can't get away from that. Your brain can't go other places. It has to focus on that thing you're doing right now. So it's about being present. And I think it's the same with running. It's a stressor that makes you present. All you're thinking about is your breathing and the next step, breathing and the next step. You're not worrying about all these what if things that might happen, might not happen. My dad was a terrible one for that. He was always worried about all these things that might happen, and most of them never happened. So he spent a lot of his time worrying about things that never actually happened. Yeah. And that's something that resonates with me is, why are you worrying about all these what if things? You hope for the best, plan for the worst, and take whatever comes. Yeah. That's always stuck with me. That's a really important thing. So you prepare as best you can. I'm not saying you ignore from a business, you've got to plan for contingency.
Yeah, all life, anything.
But there's no point obsessing about it, and there's no point worrying about all the things that won't happen. So just get on with it.
It's just remembering that when you're in the throes of it, isn't it?
It's really hard when you're stuck in that thing. So having some techniques to be able to cope. So whether that's jumping in a tub of ice, whether that's going for a run, whether that's doing a workout, whether that's doing some breathing or some meditation or some yoga, whatever floats your boat. Yeah. That's a really important thing to be able to kind of say, I know the signs, I know I need to do something, and then do it. Because so many people don't do it. They just sit there and it burns and bubbles.
But sometimes it's such a nice, in a weird space, you can enjoy being down almost and just start using that as a tool to obsess over. Remuneration, isn't it, or something, that's what they call it, and then also you sometimes get attention from being down as well, and that can also be even more problematic as well. Yeah. I've been all there, mate. I've been all over that loads of times. Yeah.
But the way you get better is by taking a step.
Yeah.
And it's, what was it? If I said to you, how do you get to London? You can't hold all of that information in your brain, all the different roads and turnings and junctions that you need. But if I say, here's one, then there's the next one, and then there's the next one, you end up at that destination. And it's step by step. And I think you feel better if you take that first step. It's about...
Have you ever had any counselling, you?
No.
So my counsellor was always the one that, and I know a few people have heard it, just don't see a full day.
Yeah.
Take it every 10 minutes.
Step by step, yeah.
Every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So when I've been at my worst, man, I've been crippled with depression, extreme grief, complex negative grief, wanting to kill myself. I've been in a state of play where I've been literally lay on the side of the bed, not wanting to move, endless crying in darkness. And that's how I would stay with the first 10 minutes. So my go-to is my coping mechanism is have a 2-litre bottle of water. Yeah. I've got one at the side of the bed, it's unopened most of the time, or if I sometimes open it because I've used it and drank it, whatever. But my go-to is just do something good for myself. So it's like drink the water, go and put your gym stuff on, go and pick something to do, but running is a great one.
Yeah.
Running is a great one.
Yeah.
So it's good coping. It's good that you recognise your coping mechanism.
I think it's in life. It's about taking action, taking steps, isn't it? If you feel like you're moving forwards, a lot of the negativity can fall away. As long as you feel you're making progress and you're taking steps, whatever they are, however big or small. If you're moving in a direction, it's not about not standing still. I think, isn't it?
Or going backwards.
Or going backwards. Yeah.
Or sometimes it can be going backwards because me and you have both gone backwards in business. It's not reacting. Yeah. It's making sure you are reacting. Oh shit, the hours are going down, things are going wrong, they've left, or that's gone wrong, or this. How are we pivoting? How are we reacting?
Yeah. Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Plan. Yeah. Take action.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. Mate, I feel quite similar to a lot of things. It's just you're quite good at delivering stuff, aren't you?
Thank you.
Yeah, you are. It's interesting. I need to get better at that. I talked about it before. Maybe I didn't talk about it before. I definitely spoke to my coach this morning about it. Being able to deliver stuff in a better way. or having that communication, because I sometimes come up with great ideas and then don't always deliver it to the team the best way, and I need to do more strategy meetings or just tell them where I'm up to. But again, it's a learning curve. You don't get it all right all the time, do you?
No, I think you've got to give yourself space to do that. And it's if you're presenting or talking in public, it's a really, you've got all those nerves that are just there. No matter how much you've done it, there'll be nerves, and that kind of can force most people into that kind of I've got to do it. Urgency comes along, and fight or flight and all that stuff comes to life. So you have to kind of consciously be able to push that down and create space, and know that space is okay, and pauses are okay, and silence is okay. And it's very similar to the breathing and stuff. You it's a technique to kind of build some space to allow your brain to think. And if because your brain's pretty good at working on the fly. Most people can do that, but you have to give it the space. And if you're panicking, your brain doesn't work. You've got to have that kind of mental space to be able to kind of let your brain do what it'll do. And preparation can help. Some people need to read stuff off a script. I can't do that. I work better knowing roughly what I want to say and then just going with the flow with it.
That's what I've done, same.
But slow everything down is what I always try and do. That's what I'm telling myself, is just calm. Because you always come across faster than you think you do. So you feel that you're crawling and you're saying things really, really slowly, but actually, because of the adrenaline, what you're actually perceived as is much slower than the way you feel.
Yeah. Interesting. I want to go back to the very, very beginning, and because I know there'll be loads of interesting spikes with you, what we could go on about, but I want to go back to when we spoke at the BFA event. How did you get into crypto space, and why did you get an appetite for that? It's not. Well, you'll correct me. So
that's all right. I'll tell you. I'm someone who's always been really interested in the future and technology and where we're heading as a species. And I've just always been fascinated by that. So the crypto thing came along because I'd heard about it when it started and
just intrigued.
Didn't connect. And then a good friend of mine kept badgering me and said, you've got to look into this stuff, and so I did. And I became fascinated by it, because I think most people think about, well, you've got to break it down. It's a tricky one. So crypto is almost the wrong word to use.
Okay.
So cryptocurrencies, there's loads of them, tons of them, thousands of them. But where all that started was Bitcoin.
Yeah, that was it.
And for me, it took me a little while to understand what the difference was between Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies. Because for most people, it's just all different coins. It's like pounds, dollars, lira. It's the same thing, but then it's not the same thing at all. And it's one of those journeys that once you start learning about it, you just go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So I became fascinated by it, and not from an investment point of view, not about sort of making money. That's what most people get interested in. You hear these stories of people who've made tons of money by investing in Bitcoin at the right time. But when you start to understand what it is, it just goes so much deeper than that. But my journey into it was really, I became quite knowledgeable about a particular cryptocurrency that was being developed at the time, and this was a smart contract platform. So you have some of these blockchains, which are just about money or securing value, and then others that you've got this network of computers that you can run programs on the top of, smart contracts. So that means we could create a contract between us on a blockchain, so it's out there. No one's controlling that software. So I said, okay, I'll bet you if the temperature tomorrow goes above 20 degrees, that I'll pay you £10. And we write a contract, I sign it, you sign it, I put my £10 into escrow, you put your £10 into escrow, and then there's a system where if that temperature does achieve, the contract just happens and I get paid out or you get paid out. So smart contracts you can use for all sorts of business purposes. You can build systems on top of it. So you can build a system on top of a blockchain. And what a blockchain does is it means that it's what you call a trustless decentralized system. So I can't control it, you can't control it, no one in the world can control it, it just happens. But then I can rely on that system and you can rely on that system. So even if we're fighting and we're at war, we can both rely on that system to exchange value or exchange a contract. So that's one of the beauties of a blockchain is you can take the trust out of a system so that even people who are at war with each other can transact with each other. Because it's beyond you. So Bitcoin is verified by maths, physics, electricity. And that's what secures the network. So since it was invented or discovered, I would say, that computer network has been running. It's never been hacked. It's the biggest computer network in the world, and it runs and it processes transactions. So I can rely on that, like I can rely on physics. Yeah. So can you. So it creates a way that people can transact with each other in a very different way than we've ever had before. So if I want to give you some money, I get my phone out, I send money to my bank and tell my bank to give money to your bank, and they, all that happens. And then the banks talk to the clearing banks, and then the clearing banks, it goes up a chain and then down a chain. So we're relying on that whole chain to transact with each other. Mm-hmm. If I want to give you gold, unless I've got a little bit in my pocket, if I want to give you a large amount of gold, I've got to arrange a lorry, security, I've got to go and pick that gold up, I've got to ship it. It's incredibly expensive and there's lots of vulnerabilities. But with Bitcoin, I can literally pick my phone up, send you some Bitcoin to your wallet, and there's nothing that can stop that happening. So it's powerful from that perspective because it's a computer network that we can all use. It's completely accessible. So anyone who can get access to a phone or a computer can transact with those networks. Other cryptos are different because they're not secured by just the raw power of physics and maths. They're secured by different mechanisms for verifying transactions that usually have some human element in it. There's either a board or a group of people that come together. So they're corruptible. Yeah. And the one that I learned about, which you could use for business, became corrupted. No way. So I learned the hard way because this thing I'd put loads of time and effort into. And then was consulting and helping businesses use to kind of plan how they built business systems on top of these blockchains because it was amazing. Then sort of really stopped working properly because the governance wasn't right. Because humans were involved in that governance process. And whenever you get humans involved in governance, unless you're really careful, it's open to corruption, it's open to cartelization.
Yeah, so because people want to make money.
People want to make money, And there's a lot of money at play in these systems, and so I learned the hard way. I did a lot of work in that arena, and I suppose the ultimate lesson from that was to learn the difference between Bitcoin, which is a very, very different thing, to all the other cryptocurrencies. They're not the same thing, and they shouldn't be called the same thing, which is why crypto is a tricky word. But for me, it's kind of like that. Bitcoin is. It's a powerful thing for humanity, I'd say. It's something that, I think it's going to become more important as time goes by. And not just money goes up, value goes up. It's not about that. It's about kind of how we can transact as humans, because to understand why it's important, you've got to understand what money is, because it's a pretty weird thing, money. When you scratch the surface and try and actually understand what money is, philosophically and historically, it's been all sorts of stuff. It started off as shells. People have used shells for money. People have used, stone wheels for money. It's a symbol and it's a language. Money, essentially, it's a way of communicating with each other and exchanging value. And what blockchain has given us is the ability to do that digitally, and that's never happened before. Because before Bitcoin, there was nothing to stop digital assets being copied. So I can write an amazing, document, Word document, and you can copy it. And then that can get copied 10,000 times. So even though I own it and I wrote it, it can just be copied. Whereas with blockchain, what you can start to do is put some ownership on that and create digital scarcity. So
they know who own that piece of paper.
You know who owned that piece of paper. Yeah. But also,
it's a bit like when you take a picture.
Yeah.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So from a money perspective, Bitcoin as a language of money, then there'll only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. So it's a fixed supply. So it can't be inflated by anyone. You can't have a politician coming in and saying, oh, we need a bit more money, let's print some more. It's never going to happen. So everyone can rely on that. Whereas we can't rely on our governments not to print money, because they print money all the time. So from a language of money perspective, it's really important to have that kind of ability to say that thing's fixed. But from a digital scarcity perspective, if you think, where's the world heading? We're in an internet age.
Yeah.
We're heading into an AI age, an Internet of Things age, where machines are going to need to transact with each other without coming to you to ask permission.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to have your fridge wanting to place orders with the supermarket, and that just needs to happen.
Yeah.
And then on a micro level, you know, you might have micro payments needing to happen between digital machines, you know, the delivery machines, or there's this world coming. And you can't have, you know, there has to be a digital money to handle those transactions.
Yeah.
And
you kind of want that as well, though.
Yeah.
It's not a scary thing. That you want that.
Yeah.
Because you put the milk back in the fridge, it'll be running out, and then you realise that you need milk tomorrow for the kids. Yeah. And in an ideal world, a drone will drop it off first thing in the morning. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. In a long time.
Yeah. And in a sort of world that's increasingly going to be flooded with AI stuff, you know, videos, content, you need some way of kind of being able to say what's real and what isn't real. Yeah. And again, you can, you know, there's some applications with blockchain around that as well.
Yeah. See, that was one thing. I've got a real appetite for this, but I know why people get scared by it. And sometimes you can get a little bit scared by it, especially with the voice recognition. One listens to your voice for 3 seconds, it can completely mimic it. Yeah. I was thinking about this the other day. Is like, how would you get around that? Because like if I was going to talk to you about how much money me and you are going to make next week, or we were going to invest in a franchise group or something, we probably wouldn't. I would want to know it's you that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, would you have a password, or would you just completely obliterate that and go and meet physically?
I think you'd have to meet. I think it's that connection back to the physical world. Yeah. That you need to have some link. So Bitcoin's connection back to the physical world is what gives it its security, and that connection is energy, electricity. Yeah. And a lot of people have criticised it, saying it uses a huge amount of electricity, and that's fine. But then so does computer games, so does drying machines, washer dryers. Yeah. It depends whether you value the use of that electricity. Yeah. So the physical input into Bitcoin gives it its security. You can't secure, a computer system with more computer code. No. You have to secure it with something external to that system. Because if I write software, you can hack it. Yeah. And if I write more complicated software, you'll just do better hacking. Yeah. And you can just layer that up and it never stops. Yeah. Whereas if I've got some way of physically verifying something, and I think that's what you're saying there is, how if you're going to do a transaction with someone, if it's for 50p, then just take the risk. Yeah. But if it's for 5 million quid, get on a plane.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I was thinking the other day. Is like, at what level are you going to be comfortable having conversations with people? And there's got to be like, I want a password, but then they could hack the phone line before you do it. They could see the email before it was sent. They could see the text message before it's sent. So it's like, there's got to be a point in your life like, I'm not comfortable having this conversation because of AI. I'm going to have to come physically meet you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the two-factor authorization stuff is what's kind of building up as a response to that, isn't it? Is to say, how am I physically going to verify it? It's by using a separate device that I know only you've got, and I'm going to send a password to that device. Yeah. And you can do the same thing with wallets. If I wanted to send you some crypto and I want to be sure it's you, then you give me your wallet, but then I could have a third party say, okay, you need to sign that transaction as well. So someone we both trust. Yeah. If we don't trust each other, maybe we trust Dave down the road, and we say to Dave, okay, well, we don't trust each other, but we both trust you, right? Well, you sign this as well. Yeah. There's ways of kind of building those kind of verifications in.
Just go off on a tangent, don't you always go to the negative, but the positive there'll be some amazing stuff that comes from the positive as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a real learning curve. So, so learning about all that stuff of, around digital scarcity, around trustlessness, around decentralization, that's fascinating to me. I think, and it ties in a little bit with the community radio thing, because that's about decentralizing the media. And I think that's a really important principle in life is, usually when you get centralized power, it ends up being a bad thing for humans. Yeah, 100%. No one usually comes out well.
No one likes don't want dictatorship, do they?
Don't want dictatorship. No. So, looking at ways that you can decentralize but still get all the benefits of things that you want, they're really important things. So whether that's, democratizing the media, decentralizing the media and giving the voice to the people, That's really powerful. You know, you've got to have competing voices. You've got to have a way of governing that, whether that's, you know, in media, whether that's in finance, whether that's in you know, digital IP and stuff like that. There's, you know, that's where we're heading. The world's going to get crazy, and we've got to have these tools and learning to
it's
deal
not going
with.
to stop, but I think the case is just making sure that it's not, I don't know what the right word is, but not done incorrectly. It's done the right way, morally and securely for everyone to understand, so everyone grows with it. Because it's the people that go to the worst case scenario not understanding that there's people out there who also wants to make it a safe space. That's the one, isn't it? Making it sure it's still a safe space for people to understand.
Definitely, and that's the key. Is because for most people it's totally mind-boggling.
Well, it's the same as like some older fellas nowadays and women still only want to use cash.
Yeah.
Well, I can't remember the last time I had a £10 home wallet.
Yeah.
I just can't. Like, I just don't use it. But Charlie, my missus, is a hairdresser, so she's always got cash on her. So it's like that journey, isn't it? That same sort of concept where everyone's now online banking. Pretty much everyone's online banking. If I need some money, I just send it you now. It'll go from that. It'll be into that's Bitcoin space then, won't it?
Yeah, because Bitcoin's much closer to cash.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If you've got cash in your pocket, no one can really stop you using that cash.
No.
You know, it's your right. It's your cash. You can go to someone who'll accept that cash, and you'll get a service or a product or good or food or whatever it is you need. Whereas if you're relying on a bank to verify those transactions, you have to trust the bank. You know, I mean, what happened to Farage recently? He got his bank accounts closed on him. Yeah. Whether you agree with him or not.
If you try to transfer a big chunk of change, and I've done that recently, it's a pain in the ass.
It's really hard.
Yeah, really hard.
Yeah. So, you know, being debanked, whether you agree with someone's views or not, is a really important thing, because we need money to transact and live in this world.
Yeah.
So the ability to do that is really important.
I think there's also an appetite for it as well around tax as well. A lot of people possibly don't want to pay as much tax and stuff like that, so there's a real appetite there, and that's where the governments don't like that side of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mate, fascinating. And have you learned that alongside by running Radfield? And just give me an idea, like the scale size of Radfield now. Like, what's it like? How big is it? How many franchisees, and what's the team like at office?
We've got about 30 franchise partners, and our team at national office is about 16. Yeah. Sort of split into a marketing team that help the network with marketing, business performance team that help them with the business, running the business, and a compliance team that help them with the care compliance.
Yeah. And how much are you involved in that business? Are you there day to day?
Every day, yeah. Hannah and I both
fully,
there every day.
Fully involved,
Yeah, I mean, I tend to handle more the marketing side and strategy,
digital.
And Hannah more operational side and strategy. So we work together, but we have kind of our own areas.
I think that's important, isn't it? Yeah. Did you find it? I mean, you've been doing it about a little bit shorter than I have. I joined in 2012. Do you go through same growth pains of learning how to grow a team and leadership yourself? And because
massively, yeah. I mean, you know, being a franchisor, that's, you know, you learn how to do your own business, and then you decide to franchise it, and you think it's going to be easy, and you're learning a whole new business because it's a different skill set, isn't it? You know, running a care business and running a franchise network,
two different things,
completely different things, and so you end up having to, you know, flip between the two, or get specialists in, or, you know, learn, you know, where do you put your focus. But that learning curve of, I think our approach to it has always been take advice, bring in people who've done it before, ask questions, try and avoid as many pitfalls as you can. So from the early days, we were working with various consultants that would bring in at those pinch points when you think, you know, we need someone to help us go to the next stage. And, you know, you've got to be humble enough to know that you need input. Yeah, you definitely.
I mean, I'm I'll just speak from experiences that I've definitely learned not to react so much and just be calm and get experience, because I have reacted in the past and things have gone drastically wrong. Yeah. And I've fucked up, and then I've just learned. I think that space of the last 10 years of my life, I've definitely massively matured in terms of how I react to things and I think I'm going to go on another journey now. Yeah. As a team gets.
It never stops, I think. You know, I think no matter what stage of the business you're at, you get different focuses and different things. You've got different ways of thinking. Yeah. You know, and that's as your network matures, they need different things from you as a franchisor. And as your team grows, you need to work in different ways to get the best out of people. It's like Jeff Bezos always says, or used to say, a team's too big if you can't feed them on one or two pizzas. is famous for saying that. And I think what he's saying is, you have to understand, as soon as your team gets bigger than 8 people, for example, it's going to change. So the benefits you get from that small team dynamic where you're all intimately kind of working together, you know each other, there's a real, you can get a real power out of a team like that. As soon as it grows, it's much harder to maintain that.
Yeah, I find that.
So if you're going to grow a team, you've got to either break it down into small units that all work together effectively, or you've got to find a different way of doing it that suits you. But those kind of those growing pains as you get bigger, every business goes through that. And as a franchisor, you've got to understand, the people who've bought in, because go back to the beginning, what's the most important thing? Brand passion. If they've got passion for a brand, they feel invested in it. So they have a right to feel invested because they've invested physically. So as a franchisor, you have to respect that. So you're bringing a whole load of people on a journey with you. You're not telling them what to do. You're guiding and leading. And hopefully, because they trust you, they'll accept your leadership. But you're not saying you will do this and you will do it now, or there'll be consequences. Because as soon as you get to that point, you've lost, you failed.
I've never been there, but
you have to lead from from the front and say.
And you have to show them why.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's I think there's a lot of psychology in franchising. You've got to understand why are those people motivated to be with you in the first place, and how do you respect that as they grow, and how do you grow and that relationship.
Do you think that's why the franchise, mate, I don't know about you, but the franchise community as franchisors was such a nice space, aren't we?
Yeah.
Together when we meet as franchisors, do you think that? I think it's unique. I think it's unique, and I think that's why we're all super empathetic.
Yeah, and it's almost, it's that commonality, isn't it? We're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're all doing it a bit differently because you're recruitment, we're care, other people do burgers or whatever else it is. But underneath all that is the structure for franchising and understanding that we're all, and also what we're trying to do is really positive. We're trying to lead people into a better future. We're trying to grow, help people grow businesses and change their lives. So it's ultimately a positive thing. I'm not saying there isn't a negative side to it, because you have to protect your brand, you have to protect your network, and it's not all roses.
No.
Sometimes you're going to have difficult days.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But ultimately what you're trying to do is help people grow, improve their lives and have a good time. Yeah. And that's what we've all got in common. Yeah. So, I thought, the franchise community is fantastic because, they'll help each other.
Yeah, that space, isn't it? And I think it's born from being franchisors, because you have to be super empathetic to the people you've awarded a franchise to as they're growing as well. And because you become a franchisor, you understand their pain points. And then I think that teaches us how to act with other franchisors, because they're all going through the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And franchising isn't necessarily that well known in this country. No. If you look at the culture of franchising in America, much bigger, and other countries, a bigger culture of franchising, and I think it's misunderstood. Yeah. I didn't understand it when I got into it. Didn't understand it.
I feel like there's still this grey suit, grey hair, blue suit, grey, this corporate facade that's almost like banking. And this is why I started the podcast, mate. Yeah. Because I joined the BFA and I just got opened up to loads of people all of a sudden, and that's how I learn. I don't watch podcasts, I don't read books. I can read books, but it's not my favourite thing. My favourite thing is talking to people. That's my skill set, networking. I'm fucking brilliant at it. Yeah. And I was like, there's nothing out there that I can really sink my teeth into. When Kay joined the business and I was sort of on with it already, I just thought, I'm going to buy the good equipment, I'm going to start this, and then I'm just going to do so selfishly, just talk to the people, to find out about how they got there and what they did there. Because if you were thinking about finding a franchising your business, I don't think there's that much out there.
There's not much to help people.
No. Not the stuff that they need to know, mate.
Yeah.
You can figure out how to get an ops manual, and you can figure out how to get a business plan done, and they're all the key fundamentals, but these conversations are the ones that people really need. Yeah,
and then for people who are looking to invest in a franchise themselves, being able to kind of work out who's good and who's not. Yeah,
because or what they want out of it.
Exactly what they want. And understanding a good franchisor is, what does that look like? What does that feel like? Yeah. What are they going to do to help you? Yeah. So important, because on face value, you go on Franchise Direct and there's all these listings and it's just a blur. Yeah. But actually helping people to understand what makes a good franchisor tick, and what are they going to do to help you, the franchisee.
Yeah, and this is where brand comes into it, is because there's multiple recruitment franchises out there. and some are in the BFA, some aren't, whatever. I'm not bothered about that side of it. But is that individual suited to me? Is that individual suited to Tezlom?
Yeah.
There's equally a good one next door to me, and I don't care if you go with who you go through, because if you go with the wrong one because I've sold it you, that's only going to cost me problems.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stand who I am independently, and I'm going to do it exactly how I want to do it. And the rest of the network's exactly the same. We're all on the same page. I bet you're the same. Everyone feels the same. Everyone's got the same energy in the room at the same time. So if we perfectly fit you and you perfectly fit us, that's it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's why, as you were saying, awarding franchises, you shouldn't sell a franchise. No one good ever sells a franchise, because you get the wrong person in your network, it causes you no end of problems.
That's why I've done it.
Every franchisor has. And they're the bad days, because you make a mistake in recruitment, or and also life stuff happens, doesn't it? You can't always win. But it comes down to gut feeling. I think
100%. I feel like I'm exactly the same with the gut feeling. Like I've learned now that I need certain things ticking. Yeah. Because they come back me on the ass later on, like not having a car and things like that. So you need all these box ticking, but fundamentally, it's down to the gut. Yeah,
you've got to tick the hygiene boxes. They're the must-haves. But ultimately, they have to get the gut feeling about you, and you have to get one about them. You have to be able to look at them and think, I can see you doing it. I can see you making a success of your business based on what I know is the trait of success. What do I know you need to do to succeed, and do I see that in someone? And you have to become a good judge of character quickly. But you're never going to win every single one. You're never going to get it right all the time. But you do very quickly kind of learn those skills. And as a franchise, that's the learning journey. I think there's a temptation for young franchisors to kind of just recruit, grow the network.
Well, I've seen a podcast of the franchisor going on it about boasting how much they'd had 1,500% growth, and I nearly wrote, it's great, but it's actually not great at the same time.
Yeah, well, we've seen brands implode. Yeah. When we started, we other brands in our sector that were way, they'd sort of 30 odd offices, and they collapsed. Yeah. You think, well, how can that happen? And it's because they brought the wrong people in, and then that just becomes a growing problem that then eventually bursts.
Yeah, they can't fix it.
Can't cope with it.
Yeah. And they spent all the money.
Huge amount of money. So it's that slow and steady, find the right people. So, it always comes down to people. Everything. It's in care. You can't get away from people. Your business is 100% people business. 100%. Our business is 100% people business. We don't sell burgers. We don't sell products. We work with people, and you have to understand that. And if you really do understand that and build that into your business, whether that's your care professionals, whether that's your franchisees, whether that's your clients, then that's how you kind of build a successful business. So you have to bring the right people on. And if it takes you a year to find one really good person, so be it. You're better off doing that than taking 10 wrong ones.
So true, mate. I don't want to stop this podcast, but I feel like it's getting to time. Mate, honestly, fucking hell, like, you're my new best friend. Like, I've enjoyed this podcast, doing this with you so much.
You let me in your cold tub, right?
Yeah, mate, honestly, fucking hell, mate. So nice to meet you. So nice to meet you.
Likewise.
We'll get back on and we'll do another one next year. But thanks for coming on the podcast, mate. I appreciate it.
Brilliant.
And the franchise industry in the UK needs more people like you.
Lovely. Thanks, Ryan.
Cheers, mate.